The key was small, tarnished, and utterly unremarkable, except for the fact that it didn't fit any lock in the entire motel. When Jacob inherited the Sunset Rest Motel from his grandfather, he expected peeling wallpaper and dusty rooms, not a mystery. But there it was, tucked inside an old ledger with a single faded note. For her. The motel had been in the family for decades, a quiet relic of Route 60 SIX's heyday, but no one had ever mentioned Room 11 being permanently locked. As Jacob jiggled the key in the stubborn lock, he couldn't shake the feeling that behind this door lay more than just forgotten furniture. The hinges groaned as the door finally gave way, revealing a room frozen in time, a love letter in the form of faded postcards, a wedding dress never worn, and a stack of letters addressed to a woman named Clara. The dates on the postmark stopped abruptly in 1962, the same year his grandfather had suddenly left town for 3 months. The pieces came together slowly. A secret engagement, a family feud, and a love sacrificed for duty. The motel's empty halls seemed to whisper the truth. His grandfather had spent his life mourning the woman he couldn't marry, preserving her memory in this hidden shrine. Jacob sat on the dusty bed, holding a photograph of Clara smiling beside a younger version of the man he'd only known as stern and quiet. In that moment, the Sunset Rest wasn't just a failing business. It was a monument to the choices that define us, to the loves that linger in the spaces between words. As he locked Room 11 behind him, Jacob made a decision. This story wouldn't stay buried. Somewhere out there, Clara or her family deserved to know that for 50 years, she'd been remembered. The discovery of Room 11 sent Jacob on a journey through old town records and faded newspaper clippings. The local library's archives revealed that Clara had been the daughter of a rival business owner, their families locked in a bitter feud over land rights. Their love had been forbidden, but the letters told a different story, one of stolen moments and promises made in secret. Each envelope contained fragments of a life that might have been, words filled with hope and heartache. Jacob traced Clara's last known address to a nursing home 2 counties over, but when he arrived, he learned she had passed away just 6 months prior. The nurse handed him a small box Clara had left behind, labeled with his grandfather's name. Inside were more letters, a pressed flower, and a key identical to the one he'd found. It was as if their love had been waiting all these years to be acknowledged, to finally be laid to rest. Jacob returned to the motel with a newfound purpose, determined to honor the story that had been hidden for so long. He began restoring Room 11, preserving its contents exactly as he found them. The wedding dress was carefully cleaned and displayed under glass, the postcards framed along the walls. The letters were transcribed and bound into a book, their words given the permanence they deserved. Jacob realized the Sunset Rest wasn't just a relic of the past, it was a bridge between generations, a place where forgotten stories could find their voice. He started hosting small gatherings in the motel's courtyard, inviting locals to share their own tales of love and loss. The motel became a living archive, a testament to the quiet tragedies and enduring hopes that shaped small-town lives. As the seasons changed, Jacob found himself drawn deeper into the history of the town, uncovering more connections between his family and Clara's. He learned that their feud had stemmed from a misunderstanding, a petty argument blown out of proportion by pride. The weight of that realization settled heavily on his shoulders. How different things might have been if just one person had chosen forgiveness over stubbornness. He tracked down Clara's surviving relatives, a niece living in a nearby city, and arranged to meet her. When they sat down together, Jacob handed her the box of letters and the key. Tears filled her eyes as she recognized her aunt's handwriting, the story of a love she'd never known existed. In that moment, decades of silence were broken, and a family's hidden history was finally brought into the light. The motel's transformation continued, with Room 11 becoming a centerpiece of its new identity. Visitors came not just for a place to stay, but to witness a love story that had defied time. Jacob often found himself sitting in that room, surrounded by the echoes of the past, wondering about the paths not taken. He began writing his own letters, not to a lost love, but to his grandfather, putting into words all the questions he wished he'd asked. The act felt like a release, a way to make peace with the ghosts that had haunted the motel for so long. One evening, as Jacob sorted through more of his grandfather's belongings, he found a hidden compartment in the old desk. Inside was a final letter, dated just weeks before his grandfather's passing. The shaky handwriting spoke of regret and acceptance, of a life lived with a quiet ache but no bitterness. "Some loves are like stars," it read. "You can't hold them, but they light your way all the same." Jacob folded the letter carefully, feeling the weight of those words settle into his bones. The motel's future was no longer just about preserving the past. It was about creating a space where stories, like his grandfather's, could inspire others to cherish their own. He started a small foundation to help restore other historic buildings in town, each with their own tales to tell. The Sunset Rest became a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even the most forgotten places hold value. Years later, as Jacob stood in the motel's courtyard under a canopy of twinkling lights, he realized how far he'd come. The key that had once unlocked a mystery had also opened a door to his own purpose. Clara and his grandfather's love had become a beacon, guiding him to a deeper understanding of family, forgiveness, and the enduring power of memory. The motel was no longer just a business or a relic. It was a living, breathing testament to the stories that shape us and the love that outlasts even time itself. What if I told you that the most important love story of your life might already be over, and you don't even know it yet? This isn't about some grand romance you've forgotten. It's about the hidden histories that shape us, the secrets buried in plain sight. Today, we're unraveling the mystery of the forgotten key, a tale that begins with an old motel, a locked room, and a truth that waited decades to be found. When Michael Carter inherited his grandfather's crumbling roadside motel in the sleepy town of Cedar Falls, he thought it was just a burden, a relic of a bygone era. But beneath the dust and decay lay a story so powerful, it would change everything he knew about his family. The motel itself was a time capsule, neon sign flickering, paint peeling, the kind of place that whispered stories if you listened closely. And in the back corner, there was a door, locked tight, no key in sight. Michael's grandfather, a quiet man who spoke more in gestures than words, had never mentioned it. But when Michael found a rusted key hidden in the drawer of an old desk, he couldn't resist the pull of the unknown. What he didn't know was that this key would unlock far more than a room. It would open a door to the past, to a love story that defied time, and to a truth that had been carefully guarded for generations. This is the story of how a forgotten key became the answer to questions no one had dared to ask. Let's begin where all good mysteries do, with a single, seemingly insignificant object, and the person who dared to turn it. Michael's journey starts with a question. Why would his grandfather, a man who valued order above all else, leave behind a locked room and a key with no explanation? The motel's ledger held the first clue, a name, repeated over and over in the guest book from 1965 to 1972, Eleanor Hart. No address, no phone number, just a name and the same room number every time, 12. The room behind the locked door. Michael's grandfather had never spoken of her, but the dates told a story of their own. Eleanor's visit stopped abruptly in the summer of '72, the same year his grandmother passed away. Coincidence? Or something deeper? The town's old-timers remembered Eleanor as a traveling saleswoman, though no one could say what she sold. But in a box of his grandfather's things, Michael found a faded postcard signed E.H. with a single line, "I'll wait for you where the road ends." It was postmarked from a coastal town 300 miles away, a town Michael had never heard his grandfather mention. The pieces were there, but the picture they formed was one Michael wasn't sure he was ready to see. Sometimes, the past doesn't just whisper, it demands to be heard. The key turned with a reluctant creak, and the door swung open to reveal a room frozen in time. A single bed, neatly made. A vase of long-dried flowers on the nightstand. And on the dresser, a stack of letters tied with a ribbon. Michael's hands trembled as he untied them. The letters were love letters, written by his grandfather to Eleanor, spanning years. They spoke of stolen moments, of promises made in whispers, of a love that couldn't be. Eleanor wasn't just a guest. She was the woman his grandfather had loved in secret, a love that survived even after his marriage to Michael's grandmother. The letters revealed a heartbreaking truth. Eleanor had been diagnosed with a terminal illness in 1972. She'd left to spare his grandfather the pain of watching her fade away. The last letter was unfinished, a single sentence. If love could save you, you'd live forever. Michael sat on the edge of the bed, the weight of it all pressing down. This wasn't just a secret. It was a life his grandfather had lived parallel to the one everyone knew. And now, it was his to carry. But the story didn't end there. The postcard led Michael to that coastal town, where he found Eleanor's grave in a small cemetery by the sea. Next to it, a plot reserved but empty, his grandfather's name on the marker. He'd bought it years ago, a final act of devotion. The motel's ledger had one last surprise. A single entry after Eleanor's death, dated just a month before his grandfather passed. Room 12, occupied for one night. Michael realized his grandfather had come here, to this room, to say goodbye. The forgotten key isn't just about uncovering secrets, it's about what we do with them. Michael could have locked the door again, walked away. Instead, he restored the motel, turning room 12 into a memorial for a love that refused to be forgotten. The neon sign glows again, and travelers stop not just for a bed, but for the story. Because sometimes, the most powerful legacy isn't what we leave behind, but what we choose to remember. The key wasn't just a tool, it was a bridge across time, a way for Michael to meet the grandfather he never really knew. And that's the truth about family secrets. They're not just about the past. They're about who we become when we finally let them go. The key was small, tarnished, and utterly unremarkable, except for the fact that it didn't fit any lock in the entire motel. When Jacob inherited the Sunset Rest Motel from his grandfather, he expected peeling wallpaper and dusty rooms, not a mystery. But there it was, tucked inside an old ledger with a single faded note, for her. The motel had been in the family for decades, a quiet relic of Route 60 SIX's heyday, but no one had ever mentioned room 11 being permanently locked. As Jacob jiggled the key in the stubborn lock, he couldn't shake the feeling that behind this door lay more than just forgotten furniture. The hinges groaned as the door finally gave way, revealing a room frozen in time, a love letter in the form of faded postcards, a wedding dress never worn, and a stack of letters addressed to a woman named Clara. The dates on the postmarks stopped abruptly in 1962, the same year his grandfather had suddenly left town for 3 months. The pieces came together slowly. A secret engagement, a